Whenever someone starts speaking on how much THC it has, conversation is done. I am 100% in agreement with you on that. As soon as I hear someone talk about the THC percentage, I just go immediately deftone on them. Oh, good morning, everyone. That's right. It is Saturday, April 27th, and this is your High at 9 News coverage of the week in the Blacklist. What has been going on the Blacklist this week? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to start off with our first story today. And this is, full disclosure, this is a story that we did cover on High at 9 News. I know we typically cover stories that aren't on High at 9 News, but this is a very important thing that has been happening and is continuing to happen. And so we want to make sure that the more you know, the more you know. This says, why are U.S. officials seizing regulated cannabis in New Mexico? And the post reads from the Blacklist. It says, isn't Biden campaigning on cannabis reform again? Guess Homeland Security got a different message. A new U.S.-Mexico congressman is urging the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to explain a series of seizures of state legal cannabis at Customs and Border Protection checkpoints. As reported by regulated marijuana businesses, between February and April of this year, CBP agents intercepted state-regulated marijuana products at the Alamogordo and Las Cruces way stations along major highways. The seized products included at least 70 pounds of marijuana, flour, concentrates, edibles, vape pens, cartridges, and lab testing samples. In one instance, a canine unit was used to identify a cannabis transit vehicle for a search, while in another, agents arrested the driver and warned of potential prosecution by the Drug Enforcement Administration. Drivers were detained for up to 2.5 hours before being released, and there have been no similar reports in neighboring Arizona or California. And these stops are negatively impacting New Mexico's $600 million regulated cannabis industry, with federal officials indicating that the interceptions will continue. And the original source that the Blacklist is sourcing on this is an MJ Biz Daily article. And I just have to say that this is just more of the same. This has happened in California, as to this article doesn't allude to, but I know of this happening over near the San Diego border, where people have missed the last exit before going into the border that were licensed distribution vehicles filled with cannabis product and sometimes filled with cash. And either way, they would seize it, whether it was just the cash or whether it was the cannabis, they all got seized. And so this is nothing new, maybe new to New Mexico and to its new industry, but this is nothing new. And this is just more of the reason why we need cannabis to be descheduled. But we do have some good comments from this post as well, where ProPen official says federal lines. Very true. That is 100% right there, Mr. ProPen. And if I do murder your name, I do apologize. Action Boosie says, seems like someone with a helicopter license in New Mexico could make a pile of money just running a state legal transfers. Yes, they could, and they would have to fly under a certain height to stay out under FAA regulations. But nonetheless, yes, if you had a helicopter, you could. Trevor Farage says, normal in California, still illegally, federally, guys, play the game. I mean, Trevor Farage, I totally agree with you on that. It is what it is, and everyone knows the rules when you get into it, and that's just is what the rules are. Kata Dinkind says, this happens in Maine every summer. CBP sets up checkpoints on I-95. Forget this checking for illegal immigrants. Anyone transporting through these checkpoints usually loses their gear and gets stuck for hours while being harassed. We've seen it many times, watched many episodes of Cops over the years. Denver Turkey 710 says, because they're feds, not rocket science. Very true. And Wiz Kai WizKid Labs says, kinda the Biden administration's MO to talk out of both sides of their mouth. Color for Your Soul says, extra paranoid whenever I cross the checkpoint, even with documents and manifests. I see the canines all the time, they say. And in Digiganja Jones says, yes, it's bullshit. It's also still federal law. Nothing sinister here, just shitty laws of our country. We agree. Cannabis should be descheduled. That's what we need to push for, not no rescheduling. But nonetheless, we're going to roll right on into our second story of the day, you guys. Here we go. They're saying marijuana industry will add $112.4 billion with a B to the U.S. economy in 2024, you guys. Blacklist says, from the street to Wall Street, the cannabis market is changing. Regulated cannabis sales in the U.S. could hit $112.4 billion in 2024, a 12% increase from the previous year. Despite sales declines in mature markets, new facilities in states like Maryland, Missouri, and New York drive growth, potentially adding over $200 billion to the economy by 2030. MJ Biz Daily's analysis indicates that for every $1 spent at cannabis stores, an additional $2.50 enters the economy, mainly at the local level. This economic impact differs from supply chain revenue used to estimate an industry size, and projected U.S. adult use and medical cannabis sales are standing at $32.1 billion for 2024 and are expected to reach $58 billion by 2030. These figures are estimates due to the industry's rapid growth under varying state regulations and federal illegality. The marijuana industry boosts the broader economy through worker spending on essentials and tax contributions, and cannabis businesses, consumers, and patients pay millions in state and local taxes supporting government activities like education and infrastructure. Real estate benefits from cannabis businesses, too. New and expanding companies increase demand for commercial properties, revitalizing areas previously lacking business activity, and the 2024 MJ Biz Fact Book provides detailed insights into new markets and ongoing legalization, featuring nearly 50 charts and a state-by-state regulatory overview. And this article was sourced originally from MJ Biz Daily. And we do have a few comments in regards to this article as well. But I mean, by 2030, that's 6 years. I mean, yeah, very possible we could have some form of federal legalization by then, which I guess, but you still have the states, that would have to implement their own regulatory frameworks for how commerce will commence within those states. So even with federal legalization, you still wouldn't have a regulated marketplace in places like Idaho. Their state legislature would still have to go through that, as well as a whole host of other states that aren't currently on the books with any type of program in place. So, time will tell. The one good thing that if cannabis was descheduled is that people wouldn't be going to jail for cannabis. But nonetheless, let's roll right into these comments. The Real Cali Connection Seed Company says, by who? Ha ha! Liars, effing liars. If that was the case, it would be legal, like tobacco and alcohol. Can't say I don't disagree with that. Jack_CTCC says, too bad these dispensaries hardly pay the growers after they want BOGOs and eighths for all the bud tenders after breaking the growers down to almost getting the product for what it costs to produce. Then us growers are lucky if they pay the invoice. Harvey.Narwhal says, wonder how much it added when it was unregulated. I'm certain it was much, much more, he says. Firefly Ranch MN says, I feel like the push for rescheduling is behind this. Corporatized cannabis, where you must have a degree to sell a bag. Sounds like where it's going to me, too. Young_Montana says, just to give it away to other countries to use for war. That was very common in this thread. And $3.8 billion in ARs. Industry full of broke bums who don't pay their bills. It's a good point, too. Vanty2 Tax DX2 says, still going to jail over a gram in Iowa. That is unfortunate. The Godfather _ says, no longer excited by hearing about how millions are earned by millionaires, he says. Heshrat666 says, the military-industrial complex saw that number and got a boner. I don't know if that's a big enough number to get them a boner, but nonetheless. Mike Anzen says, add to the U.S. economy. Is this post written by a hamster? If it's not a legal market, what do you think street dealers are doing? Paying car notes, buying groceries, bills, new items, whatever the fuck else. Black market stays in the economy too. Some cases may go back to cartels and gangs, but a lot of black market is still local growers. It stays here. You think corporation giants feed the economy? It's hoarded in an offshore account somewhere. If anything, corporate weed businesses circulates less in local economy. This is the dumbest shit I've seen this week, he says. And another plot twist says, imagine how much it'll take for the pharma companies once Schedule 3 goes in. And memories are and castles says, double that number after the IRS comes after the Cash App trappers. Oh, man. Yeah, you know they're coming for them. And once they said that you got to report anything over $600, yeah, that's going to be a problem for a lot of trappers out there. But nonetheless, we do have a small little intermission video that I think you guys will find humorous. I know I did. So it's a trash bag that a man is dressed in, and it looks like he's stealing people's packages. It's a pretty funny little video. Pretty cute little idea, you know. One of the things someone told me a long time ago is anytime you get robbed, always make sure that you look at the person's shoes, because people don't often change their shoes. And that is the one thing you can definitely see through this trash bag is their shoes going by. So that is a telltale sign of who that would be if this happens to be happening in your neighborhood. But nonetheless, we are going to go into the comments. And Shapiro, and Shapiro, LLP, just has a great little meme of Oscar the Grouch in there going on. B. Rando says he wasn't just pretending to be trash. Cute, you guys. Very cute. Love all the humor you guys all come up with on these posts. It is fantastic. Rolling right on into our third story of the week, you guys. Says we sent one batch to these testing labs, and they got all of these different types of results. So the Blacklist XYZ post reads, inconsistencies in cannabis lab testing and a lack of standardization in the industry will ultimately be the reason all lab testing will be handed over to Big Pharma and the FDA in the next to near future. In December of 2022, Biden signed into law the Medical Marijuana and Cannabidiol Research Expansion Act, H.R. 8454, the cannabis research bill allowing for products sold in dispensaries to be tested for research purposes. We are going to start seeing the results of this research hit headlines across America, and be prepared, shit's gonna get real ugly, as some of your favorite brands will be caught in the crosshairs. Shout out to 710 Labs for doing their own research, exposing these inconsistencies using their own product tested in 5 different labs. And the Blacklist is saying if you're still infatuated with THC percentages. Check this out. And this is what 710 Labs originally said on this original post. They said, our experiment proved there's a large discrepancy in THC percentage results from lab to lab. This sample of SB 36.1, all pulled from the same part of the same plant, varied from 14 to 24% THC. This is further evidence to support our claim that THC percentage is a poor indicator of flower quality. We are firm in the belief that flower freshness is king, as is understanding your own personal endocannabinoid system and how it interacts with certain genetics. Well, I mean, everyone knows that there's tons of inconsistencies with all these labs. It was one big old pay-to-play scheme. When it ultimately comes down to it, you pay for the higher result. Everybody knows this. Even the state of California knows this. And this at the same time, too, isn't all of the lab's fault. A lot of it is because we don't have federal governance as far as standardized testing requirements for these types of labs. You have a hodgepodge from different states that say, oh, you can test like this, you can test like that. We don't have any type of federal oversight, and that is due to the fact of cannabis's illegality. But nonetheless, we do have some comments on this, and man, this was pretty funny. Callan Keeley says, what was the cost of testing for each of those labs? Wonder if the cost correlates to the higher percentage. Fredibles Medibles says, now do mold tests on flower bought at rec shops. That's true. A lot of these stuff that does have mold on the shelf, that is true. I have seen it. Michigan Garden says, give me the cheapest, highest percentage and most machine trim nugs you got. Here's my punch card. 79th Floors says, I've done this with the same lab test, the same plant multiple times, and the results were all over the place from 17 to 27%. It's pretty much the same variable that 710 gave. Med City Edibles says, just like the medical field, lab results are all relevant to the equipment and lab. This is nothing new. You can also get different methods approved. That is correct. That is exactly what I was saying earlier. And Mass Dank says, meanwhile, most people out in the boot still selling PGRs out of fake Mylars, saying that's za. That is also happening. I'm the Kush connoisseur says, whenever someone starts speaking on how much THC it has, conversation is done. I am 100% in agreement with you on that. As soon as I hear someone talk about the THC percentage, I just go immediately deftone on them. And Victory Farms _ says, this is stupid. Every bud has a different potency. Doesn't take a lab scientist to figure that out, or a pharmacy. Idiots. It's natural. If you measured the bricks or even oil content of lavender on different flowers or fruits, they would differ too. All right. Well, you guys, coming up, we are going to hit our fourth story of the day and final story from this week in the Blacklist, XYZ. It says, Virginia ranks #1 in the nation for worst on-time mail delivery, you guys. That's right. Checking the Blacklist says, checking the tracking number 17 times a day won't make it come any faster. Virginia is ranked worst in the nation. An audit conducted by the Postal Service Inspector General found significant problems at a new regional processing facility in Virginia, including water damage, mail left unprocessed for months, and a worker asleep at a forklift. The Inspector General said only 66% of first-class mail has been delivered within 2 days in the current fiscal year, and compared to a national average of 87%. No other region in the U.S. fell below 80%, according to the Inspector General's office, and auditors also said they discovered a general inattention to detail that resulted in mail left on or around machines, large amounts of machinable mail in manual processing, and in one case, mail over 2 months old left in a container in the truck yard. They also observed a mail handler sleeping on a parked forklift. Virginia's 2 U.S. senators calling on USPS to fix the problems identified in this report, and it says that the original source of this was www.wset.com. So it looks like it's a local Virginia newspaper. And man, oh man, you guys, I mean, I have never received any mail in Virginia, but I know this is just crazy. I mean, what if that is your money for the month that is waiting for weeks on end and you can't figure out why your check hasn't arrived on time? I mean, the mail is so important to so many people, and not just in the cannabis space, but just in general. I mean, what if this was in December and people didn't get their Christmas presents, or people didn't get their Valentine's Day cards on time, and all of a sudden they got into a big fight in their relationship? That's just messed up. And I thought Virginia was for lovers. But nonetheless, we're going to go into the comments. Scaries _ medicine cabinet says no other region fell under 80%. They must not be familiar with how slow USPS runs here in Houston. Overnight packages taking 2 weeks out here. Norse Farms says you're talking to a whole generation that grew up on fronts. Official.g2 Dirty says, best part is they forgot to mention they hire people who steal packages every weekend. Poke holes on Fridays and steal them on that night, so they think it was misplaced over the weekend. VA USPS is a joke of a system. Ted Rux for Terp says, I can second this. Bought seeds from Cali last week. Says both were supposed to be here in 6 days from ship time. Well, one came in 2 days and the other took 7 from the same sender going out at the same time. Justin _1337 says, y'all checking the tracking 5 times a day just gets it flagged and wonder why it doesn't land. Well, I mean, can't say that ain't true. Black and Gore _ real estate said, had a box show up a month late, scared the shit out of me. Man, that would be that, feeling like you're getting set up. That's for sure. Moonay Jones 571 says, damn, makes sense to why I never got my driver's license. See exactly what I'm saying? Like, people get a lot of things in the mail. This is not cool. Himothy _ Anderson says, don't ship from Fresno. And Cali Native 90602 says, I reckon UK Royal Mail beats them easily. Interesting. Well, you guys, this has been our week-long work on the blacklist. I hope you guys enjoy it and are having a safe weekend. Happy Saturday, you guys. Enjoy your Sunday, and we will see you Monday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast for High at 9 News. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.